Joining me today is a man that's been on the show before, a little bit different setup this time around, though, but he's now a St. John Star, a guy that was a member of the All Big East first team selection, also the Big East most improved player for the 2024-2025 season, and he's going to be one of the biggest and top players in all of the college basketball this upcoming season, Zuby Ejiofor. Zuby, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. Well, first and foremost, last time we talked, you weren't in college yet. You're about ready to head out to college. Now you're one of the biggest stars in all college basketball. Is it surreal, or what's it feel like to be in the position you're at right now?
Oh yeah, it's definitely surreal.
Hmm.
Just coming off this past season, I didn't really, have a clue exactly how my season was gonna go.
Sure.
So for it to, just go the way it did, and we were able to make history, not just me, but the rest of my teammates as well. It was really, really special season, and more than excited for this next season as well.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to kind of pick up where we left off last time and for those that want to tune, I put the link in the bio so you guys can go and hear Zuby's high school story and stuff along those lines. But as I said, we were talking about this heading into college. You were about to go to Kansas, and you were still just a freshman, incoming freshman. You obviously at that time had hopes of being a great, successful season at Kansas. So I want to go into your first year of college basketball because you get in there, you're playing in Kansas. What was that first year of college basketball like for yourself?
It was more so of a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot, about the business side of things, and it was just everything in general. Really, I expected, just to come in and work and try to get to the level that I thought I was capable of getting to, but
Mm-hmm.
things didn't really align the way I had planned or the way my family had planned as well. So it was just a really tough situation. Given that I'm a true competitor, and I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't able to just get the minutes that I would have hoped for. So I just used that year as a learning experience. I got to learn, under some guys as well that was playing the heavy minutes, and uh,
Mm-hmm.
I also got to be a part of the team that won the league. So it
Mm-hmm.
was just a truly a down moment for me. But I
Okay.
picked it up my next year. I got to just move on to a new school and find myself in a better situation.
You talk about the business aspect, and that's what's different. For so many guys, that's never been the storyline. Now you got into college right when in the NIL, right when all these different things happened. It's only evolved over the past couple of years. When you talk about that aspect, how have you grown on that? Now that you're a veteran in this aspect and the business side of it, how do you kind of balance that now being the business side of college basketball?
Just knowing where you at, and just
Hmm.
knowing, you brought up the NIL, obviously, and the players are getting paid, based on your image and likeness, and what they put on the floor on the court every given night. So there's always going to be guys that are ahead of you, and you're always going to be there are always going to be guys that you're going to have to play behind. It's just how it is naturally, and guys go to find themselves in a better situation, uh, and the biggest factor nowadays is NIL. How much you're going to get paid, and uh, not so if this is the perfect fit for you.
Right.
So yeah. So that's the kind of the business side of things, and I was, like I said, I was able to just move on and find myself in a better situation this past 2 years. Now going into my third year here at St. John's, so it's been really special.
Also, another part about that is you mentioned the fact that obviously you were a competitor, you wanted to be able to get minutes right away. Let's say the opportunity was there, and I'm sure obviously, regardless of what happened, you got better. So obviously, the same Zuby we saw last year probably wasn't the same freshman Zuby. But do you feel like if you had the opportunity to play more minutes, that we could have seen a different version of Zuby your freshman year? You could have been a much more impactful player.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was just coming off my high school years. I had a pretty successful senior year, pretty
Mm-hmm.
successful 4 years in high school. So I was just coming in as a freshman. Just really, really high expectation, and that really just comes from my pops.
Yeah.
Honestly, just putting the highest of expectations on me, and I know I was more than capable of just coming in and competing, and everybody obviously nowadays has the dreams of being a one and done player, but
Right.
uh, everybody has to walk their own path, and I created a path for myself, and I'm going into my senior year here in college, but I felt like I deserved the opportunity. I always worked for it. I've always been a hard worker, but like I said, things didn't really align my freshman year, so I used it as a learning experience, and here I am. So I couldn't complain.
What's the biggest lesson you learned, whether that as a person off the court, that be on the court from your freshman year at Kansas?
Just waiting your turn, waiting for your opportunity. It's gonna come. Uh, and it starts with your character, honestly. And um, I was fortunate enough to just wait my turn. Even when I came here, St. John's, my sophomore year,
Mhm.
things didn't really align as I expected it to, but it was a great year as far as just playing under being a backup to my guy Joel Soriano.
Yep.
So it was a great year. Another learning point, just teaching me how to be a leader. How to be a leader on the court and off the court.
Mhm.
That's why I transpired to have a pretty successful year this past year. So I think Kansas taught me a lot about that. And as far as a leadership aspect and waiting for your turn, and when you have that opportunity to maximize on that.
Now, I know when we talk about this, we're just making a whole year or two kind of go by so quickly in just a couple of sentences, but that had to be difficult for yourself. You talked about the fact that, you felt confident as a player, you weren't getting the opportunity. How did you deal with that freshman year, just knowing that, okay, I feel like I can produce a lot more. I feel like if I had the opportunity, I could do a lot more, but I'm almost being held back to a sense. How do you deal with that from the mental, from the overall confidence standpoint?
Oh, it was tough. It was tough. I was just fortunate enough to have my family members around me that were able to just consult me
Mhm.
throughout the tough times because they love watching basketball. They're basketball heads.
Okay.
So obviously they would love to just watch me play. But it didn't, like I say, it didn't happen. So
Mhm.
I was just fortunate enough to just lean on them, have them as my backbone, and they tried to just give me words of wisdom and just tell me it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna find my opportunity someday, and I will maximize on the opportunity. So it was tough, but um, I just grinded it out, man. I just grinded it out. I just became and still was the same player I've always been, being
Mhm.
a competitor and just trying to impose my will on the court at all times. So I was just really thankful for my experience there at Kansas because I feel like I made a lot of memories. I made a
Mhm.
lot of friendships as well. So uh, here I am now, like I said, in my going into my third year in St. John's.
As that season was coming to conclusion, did you already know that you were going to enter the transfer portal? Was that something you kind of knew that, okay, I need to move on? Was that mid-season you almost made that decision in your mind, or when did that come to conclusion for you?
No, it wasn't early.
Okay.
It wasn't that quick a decision. I had a talk with Coach Self,
Okay.
and he just kind of just told me what the plans were for me the next year, and everything sounded good, honestly. And I was more than willing to stay. I loved Kansas.
Mhm.
I loved everything about it. You know the campus life and everything. It was just truly amazing. But then when I heard that Hunter Dickinson was in
Right.
the portal, and then Kansas obviously as most any school. Uh,
Yeah.
tried to get him, and Kansas ended up getting him. That kind of became the deciding factor in me moving on.
That had to be a little bit difficult too, because like you said, you have a guy in Hunter Dickinson, and obviously at that point, you and Ernest both were together. That first, you guys both ended up transferring out then. But when you saw Dickinson come, was that kind of the final straw? And you said, okay, it's time for me to move on. I need to go find the best situation for myself.
Oh yeah, I mean he was the number one name in the portal.
Right.
It was really a tough situation because my freshman year I had to play behind KJ Adams and my boy
Right.
Ernest Uday.
Hmm.
So I had to find my way and find. It was tough, just trying to go in there every practice and trying to find your way
Hmm.
into the role of being an impactful player. So I think I had a pretty successful year, especially the like halfway throughout
Hmm.
my freshman year. I
Right.
started doing a lot better, and I found some minutes, and then I got an injury on my foot, which kind of set
Hmm.
me back. And then yeah, Hunter Dickinson, just came in, and I knew I had to do it again, and I started hearing talks about, just me possibly being a redshirt player for the sophomore year, and I,
Mhm.
I just couldn't do it.
Right.
Just 2 years of not being out there and doing the things I love. So, my pops was right there with me. My mom was right there as well. We just sat down and had the conversation that it was just time to move on, and we did. And it was a tough situation. It was a pretty sad moment,
Right.
just leaving Kansas. But in terms of my future and where I look at myself as, I think I made the right decision.
100% agree. Man, I have to ask one last point about that. If Dickinson were not to have come to Kansas, I know Villanova was in the running, some of those schools that final time there. If he were not to have gone to Kansas, do you think you possibly could have still been at Kansas?
That's a really good question.
Hmm.
I would say possibly yes. I would say
Okay.
possibly yes. Like I said, man, he made the decision to come to Kansas, and that was that was it. That was
Hmm.
the main factor in me trying to leave to the portal,
Hmm.
because I did not want to leave. Honestly, I didn't want to leave.
Really?
But
Okay.
my pops, and like I said, we just sat down, and uh, we just had that conversation about where my future is headed. So I just came to my senses, and just realized that this is probably not the place for me. So I just gotta look elsewhere to see different opportunities that could come my way. And I was blessed enough to just land here at St. John's under Rick Pitino, and he just kind of molded my game as a player, as a person as well, and I turned out pretty successful.
Let's hop into that transfer portal process because you get in there and you were just a former top 100 recruit coming into high school. So this is a year removed from that point now. But obviously, like you said, the numbers and you had the injury, everything kind of came together for your freshman season. When you entered the portal, did you expect that you still had the chance to become the all conference type player that you were today, a potential all American even? Like, is that something that you still expected? Or where were you from a confidence standpoint at that point in time?
Absolutely. I tend to be, humble,
Hmm.
but I know I put in a lot of work
Right.
over my past, years in high school, and like I said, I had a full, college experience at a prestigious, program like Kansas. So I was humble.
Hmm.
I've always prided myself on being a humble player, but I just knew that if I was granted an opportunity, that I was going to be able to maximize on that opportunity. I was going to be the all conference player, and someday possibly be a all American. Those are still goals ahead of me. So just to see all that just coming to fruition. Um, I never really pictured myself as a leader of as a group of guys like I just did this past year.
Hmm.
So I just had that's just something that I had to just grow into, and I
Okay.
was lucky enough to have Coach Pitino and the guys, they were so easy on me as well. So um, I've always been a guy that just leads by example.
Hmm.
Never really been a vocal type of guy or vocal leader. So that's something that I had to do this past year for the rest of the guys, and just impose myself and my voice. And
Hmm.
we were pretty successful. So it was something that was pretty special to me.
All right, so who did it come down to when you entered the portal? Obviously, we know it goes to St. John's and the rest is history, but who were some of those schools? Was there a number two, number three option? Or was it just St. John's, Rick Pitino, and you said, you know what, this is where I got to go?
It wasn't a lot of options.
Okay.
I had visited Villanova as my first visit.
Hmm.
It was pretty cool. And then my second visit was literally St. John's.
Okay.
I didn't know too much about St. John's. I knew very little, about Coach Pitino, but my pops kind of filled me in on everything about Coach Pitino that I needed to know about. And then
Right.
it was an interesting process because he put me through his one of his player development programs, and I shot the ball pretty well as a guy who never could even shoot
Right.
a 3-point shot at Kansas. So I shot the ball pretty well in the workout, and he was pretty impressed. And he literally said that he would not get on his flight if I didn't make the commitment to play for him. So the next
Mhm.
day, it was a mutual agreement, with me, my pops, my mom, that we should make the commitment to St. John's. That if you could come here and you could do those workouts, every single day. There's no reason you don't get better. And as you can see, that I've made a lot of improvements in my game
Mhm.
from my freshman year to only my junior year, and I still got one more year to go. So I'm pretty excited.
We got to get into Coach Pitino because he's an all-time great coach. And the crazy thing is, you've now been coached by two of the all-time great coaches in your career, which is a pretty cool thing to be able to say. But we got to get into Coach Pitino because, like you just said, he's a legend and he knows how to develop you and how to do those things. But the very first standpoint, you talk about that he has his player development. He had a game plan for you right at the gate. What about Coach Pitino makes him so special in terms of his ability to develop guys into their full potential?
I would say this: not a lot of guys could, play for Coach Pitino.
Yeah.
He's going to push you to an extremely high level. He's going to use some words as all great coaches uses.
Hmm.
But more than anything, he just cares about you as a person as well,
Right.
not just as a player. And once he gets to know who you are, your character, he's just a really great person to be around, man. He's always there. He's the one just leading the all the player development sessions, and you don't
Mhm.
see a lot of that from too many head coaches. He probably have like 3-4 groups. He's at each group. He's always sending us motivational speeches and everything. He's really a unique person to be around, and I'm really blessed, like you said, to have two legendary coaches to kind of grasp their wisdom and
Mhm.
have one more year with Coach Pitino, and I'm really excited for what we got ahead.
All right, so what's Coach Pacino like off the court? Because you just talked about how we see the videos, we see him on the court, and we know that aspect about him. We know how aggressive he can get. But we don't always get to see the personal one-on-one Coach Pitino. And I know we get some glimpse. I know there was that press conference in March where you guys were talking about the girlfriend component and those type of things. So we see these little funny moments with Coach Pitino where you can see the personal side of him, but we don't get too many sides of that. So what's he just like off the court? When you're just talking to Coach Pitino, what's he like there?
He's really funny. He
Okay.
makes I don't think I've went by one day where he hasn't really made a joke.
Okay.
Any silly joke, he would literally make any joke to any one of us, and that's, like I said, that's speaks a lot to his character. But when he's between the lines, he's really passionate about the game. He wants you to experience winning at a really high level, and
Hmm.
that's just who he is. He got a dog. He got his own dog. That's always around sometimes, and like I said, he's a guy that's a character. He makes jokes, and he doesn't cease to make a smile to make a smile on your face, which is something that's pretty cool.
What is your favorite or the first memory that comes to mind with Coach Pitino over your first 2 and a quarter years now together?
My favorite memory,
Mm-hmm.
I would say the infamous locker room speech,
Okay.
because we was down 15.
Mhm.
It was at Providence. We was down 15, and Providence is a really tough place to play.
Right.
But he questioned all of us. If you know, if you watch the video, he just questioned our character,
Mm-hmm.
where we've been raised, and everything like that. It was something special, man. But I was fortunate enough to help us win the game by making a buzzer beater. So
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty cool.
You said something that's so true. You said that not everybody can be coached by Coach Pitino. There are some coaches that you could probably get along with and find everywhere else, but Coach Pitino, he's going to hold you accountable. There's going to be moments where he makes you question yourself, which for some guys, I think you're one of them. You respond to that type of thing. Not everybody's going to do the same way you do. How have you learned to connect with Coach Pitino on that level where you kind of come to the conclusion saying, you know what? I'm humble enough to say I'm not perfect. I want to learn. I want to be coached hard. What's allowed you to kind of instill that mentality to say, you know what? It is what it is. I just want to learn, become the best version. 'Cause I think it does take a lot of humility. So, how have you learned to kind of embrace that side of Coach Pitino?
That's just who I am. It just speaks to my character. I think my parents did a really great job of not just
Yeah.
raising me, but I have four, three other brothers
Hmm.
as well. So I'm just a really coachable person. I'm a yes type of guy. You really can't take anything personal, because I don't think they're in it to make any personal remarks or anything. They just want to push you to a high level. They want you to succeed. As all coaches do. They want to succeed as well. They want you to succeed. We all want to win. We all have a common goal. So you can't really look at it as anything personal. Sometimes you might question yourself, you might question him, but
Hmm.
you just got to come to the realization that everybody has one common goal in winning, and
Right.
um, you're gonna be pushed, every to a high level, and he does a great job of holding every single person on the team accountable. No matter if you were a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, everybody's held accountable, and he all wants us to be a leader in some aspect. So he's pretty cool.
What's the toughest moment he's put you in? Whether that be from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, what's the toughest moment Coach Pitino's put you in so far?
The toughest moments. It's probably when I had a we had a game against Villanova. At Villanova, and I wasn't really scoring the ball.
Hmm.
And everybody, in college, especially, not just in college, just everybody in general wants to be a scorer or anything like
Hmm.
that. I really don't really care about being a scorer, but I was just finding myself, in a situation where I wasn't impacting the game as well as I usually do. Just doing everything else like rebounding, defending. Um,
Right.
I was getting the missed shots and the not making a basket, get to my head. And he pushed me, as a leader of the team, just telling me, as a leader you can't, act the way you acted, and things like that. So it was tough, but I just left the past in the past, and I was able to just move on to the next game and have a pretty successful game and get right back to just doing me. So it was pretty cool.
Now you're also playing the Big East, and that's a conference that I personally feel like is perfectly tailored for yourself. When you talk about the aggressive, obviously there's a lot of coaches similar to Pitino in the sense of that aggressive, keep it 100 type of coaching out there. You guys have played a different physical brand, by far the most physical conference in the country, in my opinion. When you talk about playing that conference, what's that been like?
Oh man, it's a really tough conference.
Yeah.
It's really physical. So I had to just come in here and get stronger. Just impose my will on in the paint, and I would say I'm a pretty physical player.
Yeah.
But just having to experience the Big 12 and the Big East, and the Big East tournament, there's really nothing like the Big East, honestly. Uh,
Hmm.
like I said, I could keep harping on how physical it is, but just being able to myself, just playing in New York, and being in that tournament arena, it was something that's really just special, and being able to just come out with the victories as well. Um, I could say it on and on. There's not a lot of conferences like that.
All right, so I have to put you on the kind of on the spot here now. You've played in the Big 12, who many people regard as the best conference in college basketball year in year out overall. Big East is right up there with them. Which one is the toughest conference to play in?
Uh, hmm, that's a good question. I might be naive. I'm gonna say Big East.
All right.
Maybe I'm probably a little bit naive. I'm going to my third year here, so yeah,
Fair
I,
enough.
I've got to experience 2 years. I've gotten to experience the ups and downs. My
Hmm.
sophomore year, it was really tough. It was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of adversity. We
Hmm.
didn't really have the year that we expected to, but
Right.
this past year we were pretty successful. But and it's a tough conference, and so
Hmm.
is the Big 12. There's a lot of teams that just are in the Big 12 that are able to be pretty successful in the NCAA tournament. But we've had UConn win the last couple years
Yep.
before Florida, so there you go.
Fair enough, man. Well, you also get to play in Madison Square Garden. That's one of the most iconic stadiums in the entire world. What has that been like?
It's really surreal, just having that as your home court. We
Hmm.
were able to, just have a sold crowd this past year. Just going in and just feeling all the energy from the crowd, and just embracing the history behind it too. Just knowing that there's been a lot of legends, just playing on the same court that you're playing on, and
Hmm.
sometimes you look courtside, and you get to see some celebrities as well pull up. So it's really just a surreal environment to be around, and just a great feeling to call that home. And I'm just really excited for this next year because I don't know how we well, I want to say I don't know how we topped that, but we had a really really great team. This past year, and just guys full of guys that just wanted to win and do whatever it takes to win. So, it would be really really keen that we replicate on that this next year.
As you've been kind of developing into this person that you are now, you've become a fan favorite. You've become someone that everyone in New York loves now, especially obviously St. John's fans specifically. Could you ever imagined of being in a big city like New York, becoming a fan favorite in a city like that? Was that something as you grew up in Texas? Could you ever imagine that would be the situation you'd one day be in?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When I took the visit, my pop said something. He said, one day, your face will be on one of these billboards someday. And I looked
Hmm.
at him like, "Are you serious? Like, are you serious?" And just so you know, it happened.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to have my face on a billboard in Times Square.
Mm.
And as a kid, just that's just something that you just never dream of. And
Right.
I was able to experience that moment with my family. They came down to New York, and we saw my billboard, and it was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Just to answer your question, man, it's just something that I could have never, imagined. I would have never imagined, even coming down here to live in New York. I've never been to New York beforehand,
Hmm.
so I was really amazed by all the tall buildings and the Times Square at night. It was
Yeah.
yeah. There's always some crazy going on, especially at night in Times Square. So I could have never dreamt of this, and to be able to be living in it, and have one more year. Man, I'm just really excited for it.
Would you say the billboard has been the most surreal experience about being in New York, or what would you say has been the craziest story about you being in New York? Would that be the celebrities? That be just be the attention? That be the Times Square? What's the craziest, most surreal thing you've had experience so far in New York?
It's gotta be the It's gotta be the billboard.
Yeah.
It's gotta be the billboard. Just walking around, just in such a historic site, and just seeing your face on the billboard. That's probably the craziest experience so far.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's hop into year one for yourself because, as you said, it wasn't necessarily the year you wanted in terms of a lot of minutes, a lot of experience, and those type of things to the full extent yet. I feel like that year was huge for yourself because you get to go up against a guy day in day out, in Joel Soriano, who is a great player, really good player. And there's honestly a lot of shades of him in your game. You can see a lot of similarities between the two, and so you got to learn from him for an entire year. What was that year like for you?
Oh, it was a great year.
Hmm.
I think he did a great job of just being a leader. Him and Danish Jenkins,
Yeah.
those are my guys, man. Those are guys that I could talk to about anything, and just to see them move on and be successful as well is truly special. But that first year, man, it was a great year. Like I said, it was a year of ups and downs. It was Coach Pitino's first year, and nowadays there's never really a team that just comes. There's never really a full team that comes back from that past year.
Hmm.
We had 7 or 8 new guys coming in as well as me, so we didn't get to really mesh as well as we wanted to.
Right.
The first half of the season, but towards the end we kind of got it, but it was too late. We ended
Hmm.
up being just short, of making the tournament. So it was a great year, all in all, man. It was a year that I just never pictured myself even living in New York, and I got to live in New York. I got to see all the diversity around the city as well. Sometimes I go down to the city, and because there's a lot to do down there in the city as well.
Hmm.
So it was a great year, like I said, man, and we were just hoping to pick back on that, and we had another fantastic year this past year as well.
You know what's gonna be crazy about you is that you're forever gonna be etched in history for St. John's, and the reason for that is that they have had a great history long term. There was quite the drought overall. Coach Pitino comes in, and there was questions: is this team going to be able to be rebuilt? Can they get them back to becoming a great team? Obviously, the answer is yes to that question there. And you're always gonna be a part of that group now. You came in year one to help build this program back to where it's at now. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. It means a lot because I got to make some lifetime memories,
Hmm.
some lifelong friendships that I'm gonna hold to myself forever. Um, yeah, like I said, man, any of those guys this past year, those are guys that I could talk to, about anything, and it would be really cool, just looking down on this from 10 to 15 years later. Uh, and possibly even having a reunion at some point.
Right.
But just to have to just hoist trophies that hasn't been brought to Queens, in 25 years plus. It's something that you're gonna remember for the rest of your life, and I was fortunate, like you said, to kind of be part of that new era, new reign campaign that we had going on of just a group of collective guys that are doing whatever it takes to win and bring championships back to New York.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was truly just special. And like I said, you'll be cool just looking back on this 20, 10 and 15 years later.
Year one comes to conclusion. Year two is now in store for yourself. You know Joel's gone. You know these different guys are gone. A new look roster, and we know the results end up coming to fruition. But is that what you expected? Did you feel like year three for you was going to be the year that you'd make the jump that you did?
I knew that I would have the opportunity.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to just have 2 years under my belt, with Coach Pitino, and he trusted me, and I really appreciate that from him and the rest of the staff as well. They all trusted the work that I put in. They didn't know as well as me. We didn't know, how my year was going to turn out. So to have that trust in me and to trust the work that I put in, a lot. And that's why I just did everything I got, every single time. And I was fortunate like you said, be first team all league and be the most improved player in the league as well. So, just a testament to the amount of work I put in and the belief I have in myself to just keep getting better and just the limit on my game. And I still think that I could, take my to another level. And I'm fortunate enough to have, one more year in college. So, yeah, like you said, this past year, it's a year that I would remember for the rest of my life.
As you were going through that year after Magic Coach Pitino sat down with you and talked, because obviously I'm sure the transfer portal was obviously open up. I'm sure that could have been an opportunity like every player could obviously go into doing. When he talked to you after year one there, but obviously your sophomore season, were there discussions with him kind of telling you, you know what, we're going to give you the reins. This is something I believe that you can become our go-to or one of our go-to guys.
Yes. He knew that I would, have to, pick up a leadership role
Hmm.
on the team, as there's probably not too many choices, honestly.
Right.
All my teammates either tried for the pros or probably went to the portal.
Hmm.
So I had to pick up a leadership role. I had to get in the lab. I had a lot of things to work on. Obviously, from my first freshman year at Kansas up to this point.
Hmm.
And I was able to add some things to my game that were proven really successful. And not everybody took notice. And I put myself in a really really good position to be able to just come back and spend that final year here at St. John's again. And the deciding factor really was just being part of history and creating kind of like a legacy
Hmm.
here at St. John's. And it wouldn't be as special going to a different school, especially for my senior year. So just coming back was a true decision for me.
I want to read a quote that Coach Pitino said about you, and I think it's really gives great props to how good you've been as a person, but also as a player. I just want to read real quick, and I want to hear your thoughts on what you think about him with what he said here. He said, "Every coach wants to have a player like him, selfless, just cares about the team. You get blessed in coaching him. I'm coaching 50 years, and there are very few Zubies that come along that just think about the team. Whether he scores 33 or three, it's all about the team. Every time out, he's saying something positive to the guys. When you hear that, what goes through your mind?"
Um, I'm really just blessed. I'm blessed every day to go into practice, and he's my coach. He's pushing us. He's as passionate as anybody could be at his age. I'm truly just amazed, and I just love him. I love him. Yeah, I'm going to my third year,
Hmm.
so I get to understand him a lot more as a coach, as a person, and likewise him. So he knows a lot about my character. He knows my background, and that's why he's able to say words like that. He knows who I am as a person, as a player, and
Mhm.
as a player, you're gonna get 100% effort from me. Sometimes, I may make mistakes, but everybody make mistakes, and but I'm gonna make mistakes going to 100%, and that's all you could ask for, as a coach. So he trusts me. I was lucky enough to gain his trust.
Mhm.
So that's why he's able to say things like that. So I'm really just blessed, like I said, man, to be able to just be around him as a person, not only as a coach.
When did it click for you last season that you realized, you know what, I can become that leadership role? You knew you had the ability, but you talked about the fact that it kind of took time to develop that leadership role for yourself. When did it all come together, do you feel like?
Um, I would say probably like in the fall season, right after the summer. We
Okay.
were kind of just in the summer. We were kind of I had probably 6, 7 new guys come to the team as far
Mhm.
as freshmen and transfers. So we were just kind of just picking around and seeing who's more sort of a leader and anything like that. And I think I did a great job of not just myself, but just being around Kadari Richmond, who's also one of the leaders of the team as well. Sadiku Ayo, who's also one of the leaders of the team as well. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't really just a one man job. I was lucky enough to be around those guys, and anybody I felt like on our team could be a leader at any given point throughout the
Mhm.
season. So, but I was more so of the vocal leader of the entire group. Like I said, I had to really just come out of my shell.
Mhm.
That's something that I've never really been a person that says a lot of words.
Mhm.
So I had to come out of my shell, and it wasn't really tough because I got to know a lot, about my teammates, and like I said, my coaching staff and Coach Pitino believed in me and did a great job being put me in a really great position to be able to do that. So I was really blessed and fortunate enough to have guys with really great character around me.
All right, well, I gotta ask a couple of things about this past season. One of which is, I know it didn't come to fruition, and maybe it will happen this final year for yourself. But you were gonna have a potential chance to play against Kansas in the conference champion or the next round of the tournament. Obviously, was that something that you would like to take? Was that something that in the back of your mind? I can tell you're smiling a little bit. Would that have been something that you would have wanted to potentially go play against KU?
Uh, Obviously, yes. um, it was it wasn't. I wasn't really thinking too much about it because
Right.
I knew that we had a pretty tough opponent the
Hmm.
first round, so we had to obviously get past the first round to meet Kansas in the second round. So, but my family, man, they were oh man, the text, everything. It was really crazy. They wanted to see that matchup as bad as anybody would have, and
Hmm.
obviously it didn't happen. But I
Right.
would love to obviously just play Kansas again, to
Hmm.
see their faces, and yeah,
I know
it
it's,
didn't,
it's
it didn't happen. It was pretty sad, but we'll move on.
so maybe in the back of your mind, you might maybe would have thought, okay, if KU could have beat Arkansas, that would have been a little bit nice then.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, that was always at the back of my mind.
All
Like
right.
I said, I knew I had a opponent to get through, and
Right.
also knew they had a pretty tough opponent in Arkansas
Definitely.
overcome as well. So it didn't happen, but like I said, man, we just move on, and obviously, didn't, well, we ended our run in the second round,
Yeah.
as well. So it was pretty tough.
You have that end of the season where you guys obviously second seed. I know there were probably expectations to go a lot further than you guys did. When you talk about that chip that I'm sure put a little bit on your shoulder now heading into your final year, what did that loss, that upset in the second round bring to you now heading into this next year?
It taught me a lot. I really didn't get to experience the NCAA as an impactful player,
Right.
at Kansas. So it taught me a lot. Just being a real impact player on a winning team,
Hmm.
uh, and just knowing how tough it is to move on to the next round. It's not easy. Everybody's gonna play their hardest, especially in the NCAA tournament. Everybody has one common goal to be a national champion as
Yeah.
much as you do. So it taught me a lot about what it takes to overcome that hump. And I know a lot of my new teammates haven't really got to experience the NCAA as well. So
Mhm.
that would be something that I try to impose and just try to let my teammates know that it takes a lot to be in a winning program. It takes a lot of days that you don't want to go hard. You don't want to practice, but you're gonna have to anyways.
Yep.
Especially here at St. John's and having Coach Pitino as a head coach, he's gonna really make sure that you're on the top of your game as far as effort and doing things right on both sides of the ball. So um, it's gonna be a really special year. I feel like, and I feel like we got some guys with really high character
Mhm.
and guys that I feel like could help us eventually overcome that hump.
All right, before we talk about this upcoming season, I got to go back to something. We're kind of discussing some of the surreal moments about being in New York. And there's one thing I forgot to leave out there. You had the opening pitch for the New York Mets game. That had to be a surreal experience too for yourself there. And we have to get into that because we see some of those guys that do the opening pitch not very pretty. Yours was a perfect strike there. So I got to hear the story because on top of that, I also heard that you've never thrown a baseball before that point. So give us to the breakdown there. What was that experience like and what led to the perfect strike?
Oh man, it was a roller coaster, man. I was nervous. I probably had probably 2 days, 3 days to really practice, and that was
Okay.
like 10 minutes, honestly. So I had no baseball experience. Never pitched a baseball in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to go out there and accomplish that feat, some guys may say that I don't know. He was going 15 miles per hour, but for me, like it meant a lot because I just wanted to get it to the goal, which was obviously John Franco, holding the gloves,
Right.
a historic St. John's grad. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my main focus. Just getting the ball to his destination.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how fast it gets there, but making sure it gets to the destination. And I had a lot of jitters, but me and John Franco, practiced for at least 15 minutes before I got out there, and
Okay.
that calmed my nerves a little bit. He taught me exactly how to hold and throw the ball, so
Mhm.
I got it to his main target, and I was pretty excited about that because my teammates were clowning me. They did not believe in me at all.
Mhm.
There was probably one or two of my teammates that really believed that I could really get it there. And they showed me a lot of the failed videos as
Mhm.
well, telling me not to be like that guy or that guy.
Mhm.
Coach P gave me a pretty good advice to not bounce it. So I didn't bounce it, and they got there. So I was pretty excited about that.
So you say that was a successful first pitch then?
Yes, I'm not doing the
Absolutely.
pitch again though. No more pitches for me. That was a lot. You would literally find me literally looking on YouTube on how to pitch a baseball. So it's not happening again.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's get into this upcoming season because, as you said, it's college basketball. Lots of changes happen. For yourself, first and foremost, though, you had a season where people could have made the obvious debate. You could have went to the NBA, pursued that route. You chose not to. Why is that?
Um, I really could have went to the combine
Yeah.
this year, but I just got input. I knew exactly what I needed to work on. Obviously, and it's really my shot, and more so my shot because I think I'm a pretty solid shooter. But being able to have confidence to take that shot when it's necessary, and
Mm.
just increase my volume of shots. So that's something that I feel like I could just do this year. Just come in here and just really just perfect my craft and try to be as perfect as I could be. And what more way to really just get you better than another year under Coach Pitino? Seeing my previous 2 years. I know I could take this thing to another level, as I've said previously. So I knew exactly what I needed to work on, and I knew that I would probably have more time with this new group as well. So we just decided not to go in the combine and just stick it out one more year and just see how that goes. And hopefully we turn out to be right with
You
that
know,
decision.
we hear all about the NIL aspect, and we saw this year was the lowest amount of people we've had enter the NBA draft, and I believe it was about 20, 30 some years now. When you talk about that aspect, I know a lot of people say and look to NIL. That's an influence where obviously you already have money in the bank you could be making. Did that impact you knowing that you already can make a good amount of money and the NBA is not the only route for money?
Um, I would say I wouldn't say it's like a real impact, but um, I was blessed enough to obviously have the NIL around, and
Hmm.
we were able to come up with a deal that was going to keep me around. But I felt like I was just going to be around regardless.
Okay,
Honestly, I wouldn't say NIL was a true factor in me staying, but it was kind of like a plus,
sure.
in me just being around, and why not just stay around for one more year. And like you said, man, there's a lot of guys that are either just coming to college or going to the transfer portal for NIL purposes. But um, I've heard around about more deals and that I could possibly get, but I just wanted to stay around this program and this group of players, that this new group of players, and just challenge myself to try not want you know challenge myself to be better, and just want to overcome the hump that we didn't do last year.
You just kind of mentioned something else I was going to ask you about, and that was obviously being who you are now. I'm sure every school in the country would have wanted you if you were available. Was that something you ever considered, or was it St. John's 100% from the beginning?
St. John's was 100%
Okay.
from the beginning. Obviously they know more so, not just about the work that I put in on the court, but my character is a true factor in that I have a pretty great relationship with everybody, or the whole staff, um the coaching staff, the players included, everybody around St. John's. So um they wanted me obviously to have one more go around here, and we're able to come up with a deal, like I said, and it was a win-win, honestly, for both sides.
Well, as for yourself, every single year of your career, you've gotten better. Massive jump year after year. Last year, leading to you becoming first team all conference, most improved player of the year in the Big East. Now we look at this next year, and I think the obvious answer is you could be an All American, maybe even the player of the year. What are your expectations now for next season?
Obviously everybody has personal goals and things of that nature. Right now for me, I just really want to just leave college as a national champion. I think I've been what's the word? I've I think I've probably been obsessed with winning, and
Hmm.
that's a really good thing.
Right.
To have just come off this past year with a 31-5 record. I won the league. We won the tournament as well. So we had three goals last year. We were able to accomplish two, and we left one more,
Hmm.
which is being a national champion. What better way to just go out of college being a national champion? So that's what I look forward to. Honestly, like I say, everybody obviously has personal goals, myself included. But the
Hmm.
main thing for me right now is just really just being connected to this new group of guys that are going to be coming in, and just letting them know exactly the standard here, the standard that we're trying to just create here at St. John's, of being a winning program, and just giving New York, giving the whole city, giving the fan base something that they've been looking for years. And we were fortunate enough to do that this past year, but now we're just looking to piggyback on that and just go for more.
If you were to say your three biggest goals for this upcoming season, what are they?
Personally, just it's really just being as great as a teammate and a leader as I could be. I'll probably say that's one goal.
Yeah.
Another goal is being a national champion, as I've said, and
Hmm.
another one would probably be uh, Humbly speaking, just being a All American, honestly, because I feel like I've given so much time to this game, and um, I feel like I could be one of the best players in college next year, and that's going to take me being a obviously going into the summer and putting a lot of work in, and just standing by my belief,
Mhm.
honestly, and just having the confidence to go out there and put in the work, and I know the work, and I do know that the work will show. So I know that I could, like I said, be one of the best college players, but it's going to take a lot of time and effort, and that's something that I'm willing to do.
All right, man. Well, a couple more things before I let you go. One of which is kind of going to this team. You talk about national championship as the goal for this team. When you look at this team on paper, you and Bryce Hopkins, I think, will be probably one of, if not the best front court in the entire country together. You brought in Ozai, you brought in Josan. Ian Jackson, I think, is going to be an incredible guy. Dylan Mitchell as well. And then the returners on this team, too. How special do you think this team can be?
I think we could really be really special. Like you said, man, on paper, we brought a lot of guys that should be able to help us compete at a really high level again, and ultimately help us overcome the hump that we didn't do this past year. But man, it's really special. The only thing that the biggest thing for me, as a leader, is just making sure that we all mesh and we all really just get aligned as quick as possible on what it takes, to win, and just going out there and doing it. And it has to be on both sides of the ball. You're going to come in here and you're going to play defense, and defense is going to be on the coach's mind for a fact. And obviously, we didn't have a great shooting year this past year, so we recruited guys that could help us in that aspect as well. So, um, like I said, man, it's going to be a really exciting year. The biggest thing for us is just making sure that we're all uh, just really focused on what really matters, and the biggest thing is winning. So
Mhm.
everybody's got to come in, and there can't be any personal egos, and we can't put any personal goals in front of the team goals. So that's the biggest thing.
A lot of the guys that moved on were some of them were pretty expected or whatever. They ran out of eligibility. One that was shocking was RJ. Were you shocked by that transition by him? I know he obviously hasn't committed somewhere else yet, but were you shocked by him leaving and entering the portal?
Um, I wouldn't say I'm shocked. I That's my guy. That's
Hmm.
my brother, man. That's my brother for life. For the past 2 years, I've
Right.
gotten to know him. I've gotten to know his family as well. Really, just a beautiful family. Just a great guy
Hmm.
to be around as a player, as a person. So I knew exactly what's in his head. We've
Okay.
had conversations about his future, and more so than anything, he's always wanted to be a pro, and
Mhm.
he's been more than deserving, of that opportunity. I think the really I could speak for him, and right now I think the college really is the last thing on his mind. He's really trying to make it to the pros,
Okay.
and that's why he went in the draft to see how high he could go. And I'm just wishing him the best, as so is everybody here in St. John's. And
Mhm.
we were both having talks about possibly going in the draft, but we just wanted to see how our season would go. And
Mhm.
he had a pretty successful year. Biggest player of the year, and
Yeah.
he was able to put up numbers to back him up as well. So he's giving the pros a go, and I'm more than excited for him. And I'm really just hoping that he gets to make his dreams come true.
As for you and Bryce Hopkins, I feel like I said Bryce is probably one of the most underrated players. He's battled a lot of injuries. When you talk about you two and the potential of you two as a front court, I think it can be spectacular. I'm not sure if there's going to be a better front court in the entire country than you two. How special do you think you two can be as a duo down low?
Really special. He's a guy that could put it on the floor. Really physical. So am I.
Hmm.
His biggest attribute, I think, is being able to create for himself, especially by getting downhill and drawing fouls, as well as me. So, like you said, man, we're both a tandem that could just get rebounds,
Yeah.
make shots outside in the perimeter as well, and he does a really great job of just getting downhill, like I said. So it's going to be a really exciting matchup for anybody, honestly, and
Hmm.
I'm excited, and I've gone to talk to him. I hosted him as well on his visit, so
Okay.
got to know him. As a person, I got to see his family, so I'm really just excited to see how we mesh in that aspect.
Awesome. Absolutely, man. Well, Zuby, I got one final question for you. It's a question I was like wrapping up every interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. We know you already had a great run so far at St. John's. You have 1 year remaining, but when that day does come in a year from now, move on from St. John's, what is it that you want to be remembered for what you brought to this program, both on and off the court?
I really just want to be recognized as a winner, as a guy that does whatever it takes to win, honestly, and as a guy with really high character as well. I pride myself on having a really good character, and obviously that starts with my family, like I've
Mhm.
said. But a guy that's loving and cares, for anybody really around me, and I think I've done a great job of just trying to make an impact in anybody's life. Honestly, little kid to older people as well, and just be friendly. Just have friendly conversation here and there, and just know that I'm there, and create a legacy, like you said, as a guy that's going to be remembered for more so not just on the court, but his level of character off the court as well.
Mm. I love that answer, man. With Zuby, I appreciate it for taking time to come on in, man. I can't wait to see what God's got in store for you for the senior year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
All right.